Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We're flipping through the air. Your first thought is, I'm dying. And I said, Jesus, would you have mercy on us?
Former President Biden has been diagnosed with a prostate cancer, which is more fast-acting, more aggressive.
We're going to try to get this vote done by Thursday.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Beware the begonias, tarp the tomatoes. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. Gardeners, take note. There's a frost advisory tonight in northern Pennsylvania and parts of upstate New York. WIVB meteorologist Mike Doyle.
That frost advisory goes until 8 o'clock in the morning. If you have those plants outside, you can try to bring them inside or cover them up if you're worried about your plants getting damaged.
We'll have the details from our very own meteorologist Kevin Williams later in this newscast. Tornado recovery amid new threats. Over 24 dead, dozens of homes destroyed in a massive tornado outbreak this weekend. London, Kentucky was one of the hardest hit areas, and from where comes this remarkable story of Justin McIntyre, who tackled his mother into a bathtub just as a twister hit and ripped the roof off their home.
And we're flipping through the air. And I remember your first thought is, I'm dying right here. I'm dead. And I said, Jesus, would you have mercy on us? And as I prayed that, the second I prayed, the tornado dropped us.
His mom survived the ordeal as well. Sadly, forecasters say many of the same areas hit by monster storms this weekend could see round 2 today and tomorrow. Washington to Moscow, person to person. A much anticipated phone call today between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin on Russia's now years-long invasion of Ukraine and what might be done to end it. Plenty of speculation on what they talked about, including from White House correspondent Peter Doocy.
President Trump does not think the war in Ukraine is going to end until he sits face-to-face with Vladimir Putin. So this call could be to set the terms for that.
Now, according to a Trump post on Truth Social, direct peace talks between Russia and Ukraine are set to begin immediately. Trump says his talk with Putin went well, and he suggested to Putin that talks could take place at the Vatican. Trump is also celebrating a rare court win, the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in favor of him over the status of some Venezuelan migrants. The High Court lifted a lower court's injunction that blocked the termination of a program that protected the status of those migrants on Monday. It allows the Trump administration to end the temporary protected status program for about 350,000 Venezuelan migrants as legal proceedings continue. Well, the big, beautiful budget bill is still trying to make its way through the House. We get an update here.
The hardliners rejected the package Friday, pressing for deeper cuts and reforms to Medicaid. Speaker Mike Johnson met with the lawmakers and said discussions continue over minor modifications to the package, which funds the president's border, energy, and tax priorities. Johnson is pushing for a final House vote before the Memorial Day recess.
We're going to try to get this vote done by Thursday.
CBS's Nicole Killian reporting there. A shocking revelation this morning concerning former President Joe Biden, who revealed he has a diagnosis of an aggressive form of prostate cancer.
Former President Biden has been diagnosed with a Gleason score 9 prostate cancer, which is more fast-acting, more aggressive. It's also been confirmed that it is metastatic, meaning stage 4. It has gone outside of the prostate gland and is now within the bones. So a late stage, highly aggressive prostate cancer.
As Dr. Nicole Sapphire, the Bidens say they're considering treatment options. Some are also expressing concern that a former president with close medical monitoring could suddenly be diagnosed with such an aggressive and advanced form of the disease. Jailbreak in New Orleans. The manhunt for 7 of the 10 dangerous criminals who broke out of a New Orleans jail is sparking political fallout there now. Louisiana Republican Governor Jeff Landry claiming Orleans Parish's progressive so-called soft-on-crime policies aided in that escape. He added video of those prisoners escaping epitomizes a progressive criminal justice system. Well, Democratic Orleans Parish DA Jason Williams fired back this afternoon, saying that's not the case and that he's actively working on recapturing those inmates. The NTSB is continuing to investigate this weekend's crash of a Mexican Navy tall ship into the Brooklyn Bridge, killing 2 sailors, injuring many others. One New York Democrat's theory on what might have led to that fatal mishap, though, is being refuted.
New York's Democrat Senate Leader Chuck Schumer making a Doge claim about the Mexican Navy tall ship disaster when its propulsion failed and the 160-foot tall mast hit the Brooklyn Bridge, killing 2 crew.
I have the general sense of a Doge dysfunction in parts of the Coast Guard.
DHS says false. Coast Guard is exempt from hiring freezes, and the Coast Guard vehicle traffic system was fully functional.
That's Fox's Therese Crowley. The NTSB says it's working with Mexico to gain access to that Mexican Navy tall ship. 2 people died, more than a dozen others injured in that collision. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, a PA Republican defending a PA Democrat, graduation weekend all around the listening area, and setting the stage for key school board and budget votes in New York tomorrow.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. It'll be dry but chilly tonight. Skies will be variable in terms of clarity. It'll be chilly enough to produce some patches of light frost where skies are clear enough in the rural valleys away from the lakes. Low temps 30s and low 40s. Tomorrow, a fair amount of sunshine for many. High temps approaching, if not slightly exceeding 60. And cloudy on Wednesday with showers and cool, with high temperatures Wednesday 50s to near 60.
Thank you very much, Kevin Williams. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Republican Senator Dave McCormick defending his Democratic colleague in Pennsylvania, John Fetterman. Questions about Fetterman's cognitive and physical well-being have been raised not by conservatives, but by liberals. McCormick telling ABC's 27.
But I thought the attacks on him were so vicious, so unfounded, sort of came out of nowhere, I think, largely because he hasn't been voting in lockstep with his party.
McCormick says there's no doubt in his mind that the recent attacks on Fetterman are politically motivated.
I don't think it's an accident that all of a sudden 3 or 4 stories all came out at the same time against him, and sadly, it looks like by a couple disgruntled people that had once been on his team, and I thought that was the worst side of politics.
Fetterman suffered a stroke in 2022 and underwent treatment for depression after being elected to the U.S. Senate. He's been at odds with members of his own party for his staunch support of the state of Israel. Flood cleanup continues in parts of Pennsylvania hit by severe storms recently. Somerset County took some of the worst of it. Garrett Borough Fire Chief David Davis tells WJAC.
Most people are back in their homes just now to the point of cleaning up basements, cleaning up the mud and debris, getting it disposed of, disinfecting, just general cleanup right now.
Davis says it's been a real team effort to start getting things back to normal there.
We have several church groups and a lot of volunteers that just happen to show up on their own. And I just want to thank the community, the residents, all the volunteers really pulled together.
Davis says he expects the cleanup efforts there to continue for several more days. Well, caps and gowns were the uniform of the day for tens of thousands of graduating college seniors around the Family Life listing area over the weekend. One of the larger ones took place at Binghamton University. Nearly 5,000 seniors walking on stage during multiple ceremonies that actually began on Thursday. It marked the last Binghamton commencement for outgoing President Harvey Stenger, who tells WIVT he's in awe of the caliber of students there.
You listen to their optimism and their desire to go out and do something, but they always come back and say it's not about your title, it's not about your salary, it's about your impact.
Yeah, those commencement ceremonies had a major impact on the Binghamton economy as well. Some 25,000 family and friends hitting town to wish those grads well. And hundreds of Wilkes University grads took the big walk across the stage this weekend in Wilkes-Barre, PA. A couple of them shared their thoughts with WBRE.
When I was on stage, I kind of blacked out. I don't really remember what happened. Bright lights, and just kind of glad I made it across.
I am relieved everything is over. I'm just happy just because I get to start my future and what's next for me, really. But also kind of scared just because, I don't know what the futures may hold for me. So I'm in between, you know?
Sounds like a couple of fun kids there. That was Wilkes' 78th annual spring commencement. Up next, heading to the polls tomorrow. In Pennsylvania, it's primary election day. In New York, school board elections and budget votes will take center stage. In highlights from today's Issues in Education feature, Dr. Ralph Kerr at the Teaching and Learning Institute tells you what you need to know before you cast your vote tomorrow on your local school budget and the makeup of your local school board.
What do folks need to know before they cast those ballots?
Well, this is an exciting time, something that we work for all year long to try to get people to consider involvement in the school district, whether it's, considering running as a board member or simply finding the details of your school budget and get involved in that. But certainly, I'm urging everybody to go out and vote tomorrow. I do expect that in most districts there will be a positive vote. Many districts are looking at a 2 or 3% increase, well under the cap. However, there are some districts where they're double what the cap is, and in that case, they're going to be required to get a 60% positive vote. So certainly, it's time to get out and vote on the school budget.
All right. Hopefully we'll get those numbers up. Typically it's around 10% or so that vote on school budget day, which is so sad because of any vote you will ever cast, the vote that will matter the most, Ralph, is this vote.
I agree with you, absolutely, because it really impacts your taxes directly, and it's the one place where you can have direct input into what it costs to educate children in your district.
Yeah, and so often those votes, especially in those school board races, will come down to maybe a few votes difference. So every vote does count on school budget day. Well, we also mentioned that school boards are being decided tomorrow, and that's so important. We cannot state enough how vital they are to the success of a school. I've wondered this many times. If I don't know enough about the person or persons on the ballot, and a lot of times there's multiple candidates, should I leave that line blank? Ralph, give us some advice here to vote or not to vote if I'm not informed on the candidates running.
Well, let me say it differently, and that's shame on you if you don't know who your candidates are, man. Come on, the districts publish newsletters. They've had Meet the Candidates night. There are brochures. In some districts, there are signs. You could even ask a friend, I guess. But at this point, I really don't think there's much of an excuse for not knowing who the candidates are. And knowing who they are is so important. In one district, 10 years ago, a board member who is not running this year but has been on the board for 10 years was actually a write-in candidate. This year in that district, there are 5 candidates running.
Wow.
And knowing what they stand for is so important. In that particular district, one person said that they're really concerned about their child's education. Well, that's nice, but I prefer it to be that you're concerned about the education of all the children in the district. Another candidate said, I'm running because I want to protect sports in the district. We agree that sports are really important for overall education purposes, but that shouldn't be the primary reason that you're running for the school board.
Yeah.
So I can't repeat enough how important it is for everybody to get out and vote, not only for the budget, but for school board members of your choice as well.
All right, highlights from today's Issues in Education ahead of school votes across New York State tomorrow. Catch the full feature and all of our Family Life original features at Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Jesus tells us to treat other people the way we'd like to be treated. Think about that in relation to your job. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Are you kind to your coworkers? Do you seek out the person who seems lonely or troubled to say an encouraging word? Do you refuse to listen to office gossip? If you're in a job dealing with the public, do you treat your customers as though you genuinely care about their needs and concerns? Are you quick to try to resolve problems? None of us can control the world around us, but we can, by the power of the Holy Spirit, control how we act. So do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You may be surprised at the difference it makes in your workplace and in the lives of the people around you. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, an inspiring gesture by a couple of high school kids.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Cool will rule the entire week and probably a good chunk of the Memorial Day weekend as well. Highly amplified jet stream pattern, giving warmth and dry weather to the west, cool and sometimes wet weather in the east. It'll be dry but chilly tonight. Skies will be variable in terms of clarity. It'll be pretty clear ultimately in western sections, but stars and clouds in mix elsewhere. It'll be chilly enough to produce some patches of light frost where skies are clear. clear enough in the rural valleys away from the lakes. Low temps 30s and low 40s. Tomorrow, a fair amount of sunshine for many. High temps approaching, if not slightly exceeding 60. And cloudy on Wednesday with showers and cool with high temperatures Wednesday 50s to near 60.
Oh, bring back the warmth, please. All right, thank you, Kevin. Finally at 5, date night for a high school couple typically focuses on them. But Connecticut teens Liliana Vera and Evan Jakobovich had others in mind as they marked their 4-month anniversary. They drove to Hartford's hospital parking ramp and started placing flowers on windshields along with some encouraging notes.
One step at a time.
Get better. You'll get through this. And then we gave away the extra flowers to the lady working the stands.
Well, they are typical teens in at least one respect. They posted a video of their good deed, which went viral. But that's how word eventually got back to Amel Zabidi, who was parked there that day visiting her daughter in the hospital.
When I go to the park and I saw like 2 purple flowers on the car with a note. When I read the note, it was so nice. Someone feel my pain without knowing anything, and he told me, "You are not alone."
Part of the inspiration for the touching gesture comes from the fact that Evan's mom is a nurse. Says Liliana, they just hope their good deed inspires others to, quote, be better versions of themselves. And that's the world we live in from Monday, May 19th, 2025. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.